Hi, everyone, and welcome to this session of the Microsoft MVP Mentor Program. This session is about developing Windows Azure applications. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Angel Hernandez. I'm a Microsoft Visual C++ MVP based in Sydney, Australia, and it's for me a great pleasure to be part of this program as well as the MVP program. So today's session is about cloud computing. So let's get started. So, it's not Windows Azure anymore. Microsoft has rebranded it to Microsoft Azure on the 25th of March this year. So please disregard the old name. Now refer to this technology as Microsoft Azure applications. So let's keep going. So I really like Dilbert, and Dilbert, I thought that it was a great idea to start my presentation by having one of the Dilbert cartoons here. We can see Dilbert here speaking to his boss or his manager about cloud computing, and it's all about blah, 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 cloud, blah, 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 cloud. And I find it very funny because today a lot of people just speak about the cloud, but sometimes they don't have a clear idea about what they're talking about. So this session, the purpose of this session, or the main takeaway of this session is that once you have seen it, you can have a better understanding about cloud computing in general, what's the offering provided or by Microsoft. In this case, it's Microsoft Azure, and I put together an application which showcases how we can build stuff and host it in the cloud using Microsoft technologies. So let's get started. Our agenda for today, we have three main areas. We have the first section is pretty much theory. It's all about cloud. What does it mean? What's cloud computing in a nutshell? A few definitions about cloud computing and the deployment and service models. Then I'm going to enter and start talking to the details of Microsoft Azure, which is the cloud computing platform by Microsoft. And then I'll move on to writing an application for Azure. So let's get started. So part one, what is the cloud? When we talk about the cloud, there's a lot of people, they have a lot of definitions and misconception about the cloud. But effectively, the term was coined by John McCarthy back in the 60s. And his definition or his meaning of cloud is a computation, it's computation that may someday be organized as a public utility. John McCarthy, he was a very smart guy. He also was the guy who came up and coined the term of AI, or artificial intelligence. So he made a few contributions to computer science, as you can tell. So back to the slide. It's computation. I mean, what is a public utility? We're going to explain that a bit further on the next slide. But I got a few metaphors here. Starting from the foundations, you have like a class, which can be instantiated as an object. Then from that object, you can have a network, whether it's a telephone network or a computer network and the internet. And today, the cloud is pretty much is based on these pillars or foundations from different and various technologies. So today, cloud computing is in a widespread adoption, mainly around the virtualization and SOA, or service-oriented architecture. And the whole idea is that, it's the commoditization of services, which is utility-based in computing. You as an end user, we want to have to use and utilize some resources that you don't have to host by yourself, and you are going to be charged by the resources that you can consume. So that's pretty much, that summarizes the whole concept of utility. But let's keep moving forward, and I'm going to explain this in more detail. So what is cloud computing in a nutshell? Well, like I said before, is utility, right? So it's a transformation of computer hardware, software, and networks into a utility, just like the electric, gas, or water companies. Here I got the logos of Sydney Water, AGL, and Energy Australia, for instance. And why does it have this to do with cloud? Well, in public utility, you have service and provide services to a lot of people. So you pay as you go, and at the same time, you can, you're going to benefit from the services that this company provides. That's the metaphor here, or the example I want to give to you. It's a utility that you can use in terms of hardware or software or computing resources. So the best definition I could find for cloud computing or cloud is here, right? So it's a model for enabling convenient, on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources, whether we're talking about networks, servers, storage, applications, and services that can be rapidly provisioned. This is important. Can be rapidly provisioned and released with minimal management effort. Therefore, the human interaction to do this kind of stuff, you are not relying on people or IT staff to do it for you. Pretty much people or end users do it themselves from a management portal or management console. And the whole idea is that this cloud model promotes availability. So in order to take into consideration any given service and to consider that service as cloud-based, it has to meet the bullet points on the right. It has to be on demand. It has to be able to scale, and it has to be elastic and multi-tenant. Because, like I just mentioned before, when you have a utility, it's not for you. There are many users and customers accessing and using the same resources, but the consumption of my neighbor doesn't affect my bill, if that makes sense. And I have access and availability to the resources in the same way. So it has to be multi-tenant, self-service. This is a very important feature and one of the promises of the cloud. You are not relying on people to do it for you. You do it yourself. Let's suppose that you want to provision a VM. You can do it yourself through the management portal. And it has to be reliable. Most of the companies and the vendors providing cloud services at this moment in time, they have to meet certain SLAs or service level agreements. Most of them, they said that their promise to their customers is that they're going to have 99.9 uptime. And it's a utility-based subscription. This is, like I just said before, PAYG, pay as you go. So, for instance, you get billed and charged on a monthly. Most of them is on a monthly cycle. So this month, let's suppose that you have to provision VMs and you have to pay, I don't know, this X amount of dollars. But that doesn't mean that the next billing cycle you are going to be charged and billed the same amount, because it is the more you use it, the more that you're going to be charged, and that's the whole idea. So to summarize, for a service to be considered as cloud, it has to be on-demand, scalable, multi-tenant, self-service. It has to be reliable, and at the same time, it has to be based on subscription, pay as you go. Cool. So this is very interesting. This is where these are where you can get to find and get to see a few different flavors of cloud when it comes down to the deployment and service models. You have a few deployment models. You can have a private cloud, public cloud, and hybrid cloud. And you also have different service models, which is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or software as a service. Said that, I would like to just give you a brief definition for every single one of them. So what is the public cloud? Well, Public cloud, the provider refers to the cloud platform that targets any types of consumers, regardless of whether they're an independent consumer, enterprise, or even public sector. Normally, the public cloud providers are considered prominent players which have invested huge amount of capital. A good example, Microsoft Azure by Microsoft, AWS by Amazon, App Engine and Gmail by Google are all good examples of public cloud services. Customers who possess sensitive data and application, normally they are not very comfortable with the idea about using a public cloud due to privacy policy, security concerns, and data sovereignty. However, the public cloud is when you have something hosted in the public cloud, it will be stored in the provider's data center. So this is something which a lot of companies they complain. I'm gonna give you an example. My previous project, I was acting as the solutions and enterprise architect, and I was considering different cloud offerings. And one of the non-functional requirements was data sovereignty. I mean, by saying that the data has to be here in Australia. Therefore, we have to go through this private cloud who are hosted internally with another vendor, but we couldn't use any of the vendors available because at that time they didn't have any data centers down here. Okay, moving on. Private cloud. What is private cloud? Well, private cloud is infrastructure that's hosted internally, like I just mentioned to you before, which targets specific customers and sometimes exclusively within an organization. Setting up a private cloud is normally more affordable when compared to a public cloud, because you own the infrastructure. As a matter of fact, there are many organizations who have implemented their own private cloud system with product offering from vendors such as IBM, HP, Microsoft, and so on. When I talk about private cloud, it's pretty much when your organization virtualizes most of their environments, and they have the maturity in order to provision these environments very quickly. So moving on, and hybrid cloud. Well, hybrid cloud is the combination of public and private clouds, and sometimes we refer to them as on-premise services. Customers who look into this kind of solution, generally they want to utilize the scalability and cost competitiveness that public cloud providers offers, but also want to retain their sensitive data on-premise or in a private cloud. So that pretty much summarizes the the three different clouds or deployment models. Now let's look into the service models. Here I got IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service. I also have platform as a service, PaaS, and software as a service or SaaS, SaaS. So I'm going to give you a quick definition of these three guys. So infrastructure as a service, well, it allows customers and organizations to take care of some of the components, starting from the networking to provisioning of the OS. And the customers or the organization themselves, they're responsible for the middleware, runtime, data, and application. This is pretty much when people, they have to provision these VMs by themselves, right? A good example of our leaders of the market. We got Microsoft. It's been released. I got the article here. The Gartner Magic Quadrant has Microsoft and Amazon Web Services as the leaders in this space or in the infrastructure as a service. This report came out at the end of May this year. So I'll share with you this link so you can read it later. So Microsoft is now considered, along with Amazon Web Services, as the leaders in the infrastructure as a service space. So now, moving on, platform as a service. Well, platform as a service is one level up from infrastructure as a service, where cloud providers not only take care of the components that infrastructure as a service does, but also they manage the platform level components like middleware and runtime. Middleware such as applications, web server like IIS, JBoss, Tomcat, Apache, and runtimes like the .NET framework and the Java runtime will be pre-installed, right? As a customer, you don't have to focus on managing these applications and data. A good example is the Google App Engine and the Microsoft Azure platform, and Force.com or Salesforce. And last but not least, we also have software as a service. Software as a service, or SaaS, is probably the most common one because we use it on a daily basis. Maybe we've been unaware, but we use it on a daily basis, right? So SaaS, or software as a service, they take care of the stacks from networking to application level. And customers or end users didn't have to manage the application and data storage. All we have to do, or end users, is just to use the system. A good example is Gmail, Office 365, Google Docs, OneDrive, etc. So now this slide is important to get to know the difference between the different deployment models and service models, because like at the very beginning of the session, I mentioned, Dilbert, people these days, no matter whether they're technical people or not, they're talking a lot about the cloud. Cool. Moving on. Part 2, Microsoft Azure. So this slide here shows Microsoft in the cloud. Microsoft has always been committed to providing services, technologies, and products around the internet. You can get to see here, this arrow here, and the time in years, as well, of the number of users that they've been serving, and it's been growing exponentially from Windows Live Hotmail to MSN to Windows Update to Xbox Live to Microsoft Online Services or Office 365. We can get to see the commitment that Microsoft has always had with cloud technology. So Microsoft Azure is the next step, or the step ahead, after coming from all of these, after transitioning from all of these different technologies. Now is the next level. So what is the Microsoft Cloud? Well, when we talk about Microsoft Azure, we have to think about what is it in terms of the physical thing. So the Microsoft Cloud is it relies, or it's based on a data center infrastructure. So it's a purpose-built data center to accommodate containers at large scale. So by the time I got this figure, these numbers, that was, I don't know, this might have increased because they've been doing a lot of stuff lately. Actually, they're planning to build, to have a data center here in Australia. So to be honest, this figure might be not updated. But anyways, so what is the Microsoft Cloud? Well, there are data centers in the form of 40-foot shipping containers, and they can house as many as 2,500 servers, right? The density is 10 times more than a computer equivalent space in a traditional data center. That's a lot. So they usually can deliver, an average of 1.22 PUE, and PUE stands for Power Usage Effectiveness Benchmark from the Green Grid Consortium on Energy Efficiency. So as you can see here, The next slides, I'm gonna show you the data center or the container from the inside, but it looks pretty much like this, right? So moving on. So, okay, this is a sneak peek of a container. As you can see, you can get to see your racks here, your servers, and it's very, just take into consideration the energy consumption, but not only the energy, the mechanism and the ways to keep this place cool. You know, so many servers, they generate a lot of heat, and these containers, they've been very efficiently designed to keep this the very cool temperature. So most of the data centers, they look like this. These are, like I said before, it's a utility. For instance, this server here on the right can be used by someone, and this other one here, you can be using another bit here, and this one here can be used by anybody else. The beauty of this approach is that your data cannot be seen by anybody else, right? It's multi-tenant, but at the same time, you cannot say that you are owning the infrastructure, because you don't have to worry about patching the servers or doing any upgrades. This is all done automatically, right? And, all you have to do is pretty much to manage your subscription through a management portal, and from the management portal, you can provision and do a lot of stuff. But like I said, you don't see people here. It's pretty much automated. Excuse me. So moving on. So this is a good example of a server container deployment. Microsoft, they find a place and they start putting or setting, laying the foundation there, the pillars, and then they start moving the containers with a crane. And I don't know whether this is Chicago or not. I think this was Chicago a few years back. And yeah, they just put in there, and they just, you know, they plug, they put the connecting electricity, and they plug the electricity to the container. And yeah, this is pretty much automated. You don't get to see people inside the containers. I think it doesn't happen. But yeah, it looks like this. So the Microsoft Cloud, it's a bunch of, or a group of over 100 globally distributed data centers. We got, you know, there are a few, there's one in Quincy, another one in Chicago, in Texas, in Dublin, and some of them are Generation 4 DCs, which are the container ones. And here, as you can see, they're planning, Microsoft is committed to building one here in Australia. Here it is. The closest one we got in the Asia Pacific region is in Singapore, down here. Okay? So moving on. So now, Microsoft Azure. What is Microsoft Azure? Well, it's, just to summarize, it's over 100 globally distributed data centers. Some of them, they are in physical, typical data centers, buildings like this one here, or they can also be like the containers I just showed you and mentioned earlier. Cool? So, digging into the details of the Microsoft Azure platform. So, I was a beta tester of the technology back in 2008 and 9. Azure has been around for a bit of 3.5 years. I think it was publicly, it was made publicly available back in 2010. I can be wrong, but it was around that time. And at the very beginning, it was just a few services there. It was pretty much platform as a service. And but now, as you can see, the platform provides and offers a lot much more than just platform as a service. A good example, you have, you know, there's a storage. So, for instance, you can have blobs, tables, queues, caching, or even drives. At the same time, you have, you know, you also have the compute power. You can have platform as a service as is shown here. Let me just get the highlight here. Or there's also the virtualization or the virtualization bit or infrastructure as a service, you can provision from the Azure Management Portal your VMs. You also have access to manage and play with big data like Hadoop, or you also have, virtual networks. You have access control. You can also have Active Directory in the cloud. Actually, it's free. If you have a subscription, you don't have to pay anything extra. And with Active Directory, just to give you an example, you can also implement federation. So you can federate your services in order to provide a single sign-on experience when logging on to a different system that is not on your domain. You also got databases. You also got mobile services, media services, and so forth. I mean, the technology has grown exponentially. I find it very interesting and amazing the way that technology or an offering has evolved and grown so much in the past 3 years. So moving on, this is all of these graphics and infographics. They can be downloaded from the Microsoft website. But let me show you something here, right? You have your VMs, like I just mentioned before. You have your cloud services, your websites, and your mobile services. And you can choose, right, from an extensive service catalog. In every day, Microsoft, they're adding stuff and more stuff to the platform. Actually, the demo I put together, it's an add-in that allows me to send emails, and is provided by one of the Microsoft's partners. And every day, you whenever I log on to the management portal, I always learn and find out that there's always something new. Cool. So let's keep going here. Okay, now it's demo time. Let me just switch to, let me share something here. Please bear with me for a second. And I'll jump to my Azure Management Portal. Okay. Where's the share buttons? Oh, let me just share. Share. Okay. It's connecting. It's connecting. It's connecting. Okay. So let me show you. This is the management console, the Microsoft Azure. Let me just show you something here. Let me just sign out and sign it again. All of these management console has been rebuilt and rewritten. It used to be Silverlight, but now it's all HTML5, which is pretty good. So for me to log on to the management console, I have to navigate and go to manage.windowsazure.com. So I can use any other account or a Microsoft account. I'm going to use my Microsoft account. So I'm going to sign in. Signing in. It's very interesting. Interestingly, Office 5 uses or runs Azure as well. So let me change language here. I think it was in Spanish. No, it's in English. So when you log on or when you sign into the site, this is what you get, the dashboard. You also get to see the credit status. You also get to see how many items are hosted in the cloud. So for instance, I got my directory here. I also got my Visual Studio Online, which is TFS, hosted in Azure. I also have my storage account. I got a few VMs there. I got one for CRM, for SharePoint, a test VM, another one for the CDP for Visual Studio VNext or 2014. And I'm currently, the demos are currently hosted in EMEA, which is the Windows A1 Dev. I also got a cloud service, and this is the application service or the add-in I mentioned to you before that allows me to send emails. So let me just jump into this one here, my VM. As you can see, you can RDP into that box, or if you come here, you can also, I can also, this is the gallery I just mentioned to you earlier. You can provision pretty much anything, right? You can select from the gallery. You can choose whatever image have been provisioned by you, provisioned for you by Microsoft. So let's suppose I want to use my MSDN subscription and I want to build a BitStock server. You just select it here, right? And you create, so for instance, let's put it MVP Mentor, right? You can select the tier, whether it's basic or standard. Basic, like the name implies, it doesn't have the muscle for running a lot of stuff. It's pretty much for testing. Let me show you the configuration. It's like 1 core, but I usually use standard. It's much, much better. So you can get to have up to 16 cores and 112 gigs of memory, which is awesome. So let's provision this guy with, I don't know, just small one. Let's create a basic one. But now, let's come here, 7 gigs. Let's say Angel. This user will be provisioned to the VM at the time of provisioning. And this is the user I will use in order to log on to that box. So Angel, my password will be blah, for instance, some validations there. I can create a cloud service. I got a cloud service already here, which is for development, or I can create a new one. I can also select my DNS name. Let's say MVP Mentor. I can also select where I would like to have the affinity or the region for my VM. You know, the closer you are to the VM, the faster it will be. So this is very important. So I'd rather have it in Southeast Asia because it will take longer for the data to be transferred from the US to the data center rather than connecting to the data center in Singapore. Hopefully this year we'll see something here like Australia. Anyways, let's just wait and see. So a storage account, you can create a storage account or you can just reuse an existing one. Let's just reuse this one here. The availability set, I don't want to have one. And you also specify the endpoints. The endpoints if you want to RDP into the box or if you want to do some PowerShell. Let's take it. It's important to specify here. I usually assign the ports myself, 10,000 and 11,000, for example. Internally, Azure will use the default ones. For instance, for RDP or remote desktop protocol, it's usually 3389. So, but it's important to specify the public port. If you specify it, it's less likely that you'll encounter any issues to connect, because remember that this is a public utility, right? Some other person can select something at a given time. So it's better to specify the port yourself. So you can also specify to install the VM agent. Even VM agent is similarly to the VMware tools. They improve the experience of connecting to the box, etc. And you can also install any security extensions like, for instance, the anti-malware by Microsoft, or the endpoint protection by Symantec, or the Trim Micro Deep Security Agent, or you can also configure install Jeff or Puppet if you want to do some deployments. But no, I'm not going to save this VM. So that's that. I also have, like I just mentioned before, you can also create your SQL databases here. Let's create a database. You can specify, I don't know, MVP mentor, the subscription. I got my subscription there. Let's use the web edition, 1 gig, no, 100 megs. It's for demo purposes. So you can also specify the collation and the server. Let's use this guy, Southeast Asia. Boom. And as you can see, it's been creating. So you don't rely on any IT staff to do anything for you. It's all done. It's all done automatically. So if I come here, you can I can monitor my recently created database. As you can see, I don't see anything here because it's been just created. But if I switch back to the VM, I can get to see the one that's running, right? So let me just come here and get to see the dashboard. I can get to see the usage. So this is the Valve VM with the Azure tools that's running in Azure at the same time. So this is my DNS name, and this is my public virtual IP address. And as you can see, I can get to see that I got 8 cores and 14 gigs of memory running on that box, right? So this is it pretty much. Let me just show you something very quickly as well about, the power of cloud computing. What I got here, I'm gonna jump to, I got my blog here, right? Is on WordPress, but the thing is, I'm using my Office 365 subscription as well, so I can have I just enter whatever my DNS entries, and I can pretty much leverage and use the power of Office 365 in Azure with my own domain. So here I got Office 365, which is running on Azure itself, and I can get to see my domains. So it's pretty much configurable and customizable. So for instance, I got my domain. This is the domain I bought. However, all the storage and all the benefits, like, or the different technologies like SharePoint, Exchange, or OneDrive, is all provided by Microsoft. All I have to do is just to customize it and use it. A good example, go to my Exchange or my Outlook, and it's using my domain name. However, all of the infrastructure and technology and everything, all the plumbings and the patching of the servers is all being Microsoft. So this is my, my angel@bonafideideas.com account. So it's pretty awesome. So this is what I got. And before I forget, let me just show you the article I mentioned before. It's Windows IT Pro. If you Google it, you will find it. So this came out on the 30th of May, and Microsoft sneaks into the Gartner Magic Quadrant leader box for infrastructure as a service. So as you can get to see, the only 2 leaders in infrastructure as a service are Microsoft and Amazon Web Services. So we're catching up. Hopefully we'll catch them up. But yeah, it has evolved. It has evolved in such a short period of time, which makes it very cool. Okay, so let me go back to to the Presso, and let me just go back to the Presso, to the slide deck. Please bear with me for a second. So, and that was the demo of the technology, pretty much. Hang on, no, it's not coming up. Oh, here it is. My bad. So back to the slide deck. Okay, cool. So that pretty much covers the demo for the management portal and the way we can provision things and deploy applications there. So moving on, demo. Writing applications for Microsoft Azure. What's required to write an application and host it and deploy it to Microsoft Azure? Well, honestly, the only thing that you need to know is .NET. However, this is the beauty of the thing. You don't have to learn anything new, because if you're a Ruby on Rails developer or a PHP developer, a C++ developer, you can host and have stuff hosted in Azure. But if you're a .NET developer, you can leverage and reuse the same skills and the same technologies and tools you use on a daily basis, like, for instance, C#, Visual Studio, etc. There are a few classes which allows you to interact with the platform, but you won't have to learn a new language. No, that's not the case. So moving on, writing applications for Microsoft Azure. And the best way to explain this section is with a demo, right? So I created a demo around a business case or a business requirement, if you want to put it that way. So please allow me to introduce to you Zebra Express. That's the logo. You got a zebra and Express underneath. No, silly joke. But yeah, Zebra Express. And who are they? Well, let me give you a bit of background. Zebra Express, this company does not exist, by the way, similarly to Contoso. It just doesn't exist. I just made it up for this section here. But Zebra Express, it's a global online marketing company. It's a customer communication solution, and they provide a reliable and scalable mailing solution to their customers. What were the requirements that Zebra Express they had for the developer? Well, they have to be highly available and scalable. By highly available, 99.9 is uptime is awesome for them. It's more than perfect. It has to be multi-tenant because hang on, don't disconnect. Yeah. It has to be multi-tenant because it's a global company, and that the application or their solution has to be available for users around the world. Their customers, they don't want to have any IT overhead. The technology used have to be based on open standards and technologies, and the thing is they just want to leverage their developer staff existing skills. So what was the solution? Well, to have an Azure cloud service with 3 roles. One of them is the UI based on ASP.NET MVC. MVC stands for Model View Controller. Work role in a WCF service, which I don't know whether I made it RESTful or not. I'll refer to the source code just now, and some storage. They want to have they are going to use a queue to interact between the web role and the work role and a cloud email service provider. So that's the one provided by this Microsoft partner. I think they are based in Colorado. I'll refer to the management portal a bit later. So okay, cool. So those are the requirements. Now let's switch back to my VM. So I have to, please bear with me for a second. Oh no, wrong slide. Let me just refer, here it is. Let me share and go back to disconnecting. Okay, let's just wait for this to connect very quickly. Mm, mm, mm. Mm, 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 mm. Connecting. Awesome. I'm connected. Okay. So I think this is my Visual Studio. Oh, hang on. Okay, this is my Visual Studio hosted in Azure. This is the one with 8 cores and 14 gigs of memory. So let me just open the Task Manager. So it's a Windows 8.1 computer. Can go to Performance. It's 8 cores, as you can see. And the memory, which is open. Hang on. Oh, come on. It's a bit laggy. This is my connection. Let me just open here so you can see it. So 14 gigs of RAM and 8 CPUs, 8 cores. Okay. So what I got here, I got Visual Studio 2013 Update 2, I think it is. Let me just check. Yeah, Update 2. Okay. And I got installed the Azure SDK and tools. So one thing that you can notice is that Server Explorer now, it has this Windows Azure. It was available in 2012, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. And you get to see here, you know, all the different aspects and layers or technologies that you can use and play with. You have cloud services here, mobile services, service bus, notification hubs, but what I got are a few VMs. So I got the ones that I showing you from the portal. You can get to see them here, and you can also right-click from here and connect using RDP or remote desktop. And these are my storage accounts. I got the email service, the portal VHD. This one is the one containing all of the hard disks of all of my virtual machines, and this one is the one used by this demo. The development one uses the local storage. I have it on SQL. And if I expand this guy here, I should be able to see the database I just created. Let me just check. Should come up. I don't know why it's not coming up. Should come up. Anyways, back to the demo. I said that, you know, Zebra Express, they needed to have, they needed to have an UI. This UI will consume a WCF service, but the idea is that Zebra Express customers will consume the service directly. So let me walk you through the thing. If I open the service, I got my basic request for the service, which is, let me just make this a bit bigger, 115%. Yeah. So I got the basic request. It's a data contract. It's a WCF service. I also have my response. Let's do the same thing, 115%. They've been decorated with data contract because by doing that, I'm instructing WCF that this object or this class, when it becomes an object, can be serialized and understood by the client. So I also got my common thing here, which is the XML message that will store it in a queue. The whole idea is from the UI, I call a service. The service talks to the queue. It places the message in the queue, and it's up to the worker process to pick it up from the queue, process it, and send the email. That's the workflow. And I also have the service itself. So let me just make it bigger. So okay, here it is. Let me just show you something here. I'm using the storage. So this is all standard. This is provided by Microsoft. If you want to use this, the local storage, you have to specify these values: depth store account 1 and the password. I create a new client here pointing to this guy using this account, and I specify my credentials, and I get a reference to the queue called messages. And at the same time, let me just open very quickly the messages queue. Please bear with me for a second. I come here to storage, development, queues, messages. So let me check the queue. I don't have anything here, right? Okay. So back to the service. What I'm doing here, this is for adding a message. It comes, a request comes in. I create the basic response when, which says the message was created successfully. Also, what I do is, well, the request comes with the email. Remember that at the end of the workflow, what we effectively will be doing is sending an email. So this is I put this message in the queue. If the queue does not exist, I just create it and I add the message. It's pretty straightforward. So this is pretty much the WCF service thing. I also have the emailer, which is the interface implemented here, and the web role. Let me see what I got here. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I don't have anything fancy. So let me just close this, right? And let me go back to the worker process. I haven't run this thing before the request. Until now. The request is pretty much to get the message out of the queue, to take it out, and the worker role is here. Okay. Let me just walk you through this guy. By the way, I will share 115%. I will share the source code and the presentation material with you after the session. So please feel free to download it and play with it. So, okay, this is the worker role. The worker role, all it does is it's got the run method, and I have here a timer which will poll the queue every 3 seconds. I could have used another queue, but I used this one because I wanted to demonstrate that I'm polling and that the worker process or the worker role is doing something. So what I got here is, okay, well, I have a timer. I got the elapsed event. I got this lambda, which is the one that becomes effectively as the event handler. Okay, if 3 seconds have passed, then go get a reference to the queue, fetch the attribute. I do this in order to retrieve the number of approximate message count, and then if I got any message, just process the message, contact or call the email helper. The email helper is just a wrapper for, go to implementation here. It's a wrapper for the mailing service provided by the Microsoft partner, which I'll show you after the demo. So what I got here is, well, I'm the XML because I have to take it out from the queue. I got a C data section there. I just parse it and I prepare my message. It's pretty straightforward. I just throw the information from there and I call the service provided by that Microsoft partner I just mentioned before. So let me just run it so you can see it in action, and then I'll add a few breakpoints and I'll show you how it goes. So let's just run it here. What you will see now is the compute emulator and the storage emulator. No, sorry, the compute emulator. So it's compiling. And I think before I push the button, I forgot to walk you through the MVC app. Let me just show you very quickly. It's loading things, yes. Loading the modules, yes. So let me just collapse all these guys and come to the UI. And what I got here is the web role. The web role doesn't have anything. You can add some initialization code if you want to, regardless of whether you got a web role or a work role. They all inherit from role entry point. You can override. There's a virtual, which is on start. You can override it if you feel like it. But the code effectively happening here. Let me go refer to the controller. Remember that this is an MVC app and codes written in the controller. So what I got here is 115. This is the default page. This is the code that gets executed. I don't do anything fancy. All I do is I initialize my by creating an empty request. But when I click on the button, this by a HTTP post, which is like posting back to the server, I return an action result, which takes in the model, which has been, which is taken from the view. I'll show you the thing. With this, all I do is I have added already the reference to the service, and that's why I have my proxy here. And then I create a new request. And what I do is I just read the values from the view, and I just call my service. If I refer to the view, is customer, here it is, the view. What I got here, let me increase the font size as well. I specify with this guy, model is going to use an object of this type. I specify the title of the page. This is a message that's being set from the controller when it's first initialized. I have a field set. And then what I do, I let MVC to do the data binding and the rendering of the controls based on my model. And I do that by using HTML.label4. This will create a label for this property, but at the same time, I also specify, well, create me a field or a text box based to capture or enter this field or this property here. And that's it pretty much. So if I come here, let's go to this is the emulator. I got here my 3 roles, the web service, the UI, and the principal. I can get to see what's going on. This pretty much emulates what happens in Azure. Pretty much, there's always a monitoring. Therefore, you can get to know and find out the health or the status of your application at any given time. So this is the service, the UI, and the worker role. So let's just do it. Let's just do something. I'm going to send an email from Zebra Express. In theory, this is just to test for testing purposes of Zebra, because the idea is that the same WCF service will be exposed to their customers. So let's say I want to send an email from my email account, right? And what I'll do before sending the email, let me set a breakpoint before taking the information or popping out the information from the queue. Let me set a breakpoint. That's in the service, which has to be somewhere here. Email service, this work with me. So encoding create that message. No, sorry, my bad. It's from the work role. Okay, from here. Let me just set a breakpoint here. F9 will get the trick. We'll do the trick. Come on, F9. F9. There you go. So let me just send this email, and I'll refer to the queue, right? So the beauty is it doesn't make a difference to have the queue hosted locally or in Azure. So from my Hotmail account, send it to my Office 365 account using my domain of the website that is hosted in WordPress, and I'm gonna CC my Gmail account and the subject, hi community. Oh, hang on, community. Let me just type in something here. Hi, this is a demo for, this is a demo of Azure app. Let me send the message. Boom, we're here, but I'm going to refer very quickly to the queue. Here it is. So if I refresh this puppy here, this guy, this is the message that it will be processed. This is what I'm sending to, just open it. This is what I'm sending, right? So I assign a GUID as an ID identifier is coming from this guy. You can send it to multiple recipients by having a semicolon. From this guy, this is subject, and I put inside a C data section because you might want to have HTML and format it and to make it look pretty, something. So that's why I put it inside a C data section. So let me just remove the breakpoint and let the program continue its execution. So continue. Boom, it's been sent. So if I go to my Office 365 account, here it is. Hi community, this is a demo of an Azure app. So I send it from this guy. It wasn't up to me to deploy and to have the exchange or anything like that. All the infrastructure has been provided by me, and what Zero Express is doing is building a solution around Azure, having Azure as the foundations, and then it's going to provide that to their customers. So if I come here, and that's it pretty much. So now you'll be wondering, yeah, but that's what you're doing when you're doing stuff locally. What about if I want to take the same application and deploy it to the cloud? Well, first of all, let me just stop this here, and you can create profiles for publishing your solution. So if you come here, you can say, well, you can package it and do it yourself, or you can use the wizard provided by the SDK. So this is it. So this is what I get. So I want to, it's complaining about a name I'm using already. So class storage service. Let me just previous. Okay, next. Let's do this one here. I want to call this MVP mentor demo. You can select from here the affinity group. Let's say I want to have it in Southeast Asia. Enable geo-replication. Now it's not required. Created, it's created thing. It's been created already. So you can also specify the environment. Production and staging is developing, so it's staging. So the cloud configuration, whether it's cloud or local, well, just use the cloud configuration. Do I want to enable remote desktop for the roles? Yes. Advanced settings, okay. Delete deployment on failure. Now, Intel trace, profiling, yes. Yes. So let's call this guy deployment labeled two because I've deployed one already. So I click on next and I publish it. And what you will see is something here. Let me just open it. Our list. Where is it? Where is that window I want to show you? There's one window I want to show you. Please work with me. Here it is, Windows Azure Activity Log. So here it's still compiling and doing stuff. So I want to see everything, the deployment, storage log request, still doing something. Yeah, it's transforming the thing. So, hang on. It hasn't started deploying anything to the cloud yet. Yeah, it's still running the transformation. Yeah, it's getting everything ready to start deploying. So, okay, while this thing is running here and doing stuff in the background, what I would like to do is to show you, I didn't want to, okay, here it is. Let me just dock it again, there it is. So it's deploying this. So this is what it's doing. It's uploading the certificates. Before, I think it was Azure SDK 2.0. Most of this stuff was done manually. But yeah, now it's pretty straightforward to deploy stuff to the cloud. So it's doing stuff. Just put it to me. Just put it here. And yeah, okay, but let me just show you something else, which is the mailing service I've mentioned to you before. Oh, come on, just minimize. This is not where I want to go. Okay, yeah, okay. Let me go to the desktop. Where's my desktop? Okay, come on. Come on. Oh, come on. Okay. Come on. Oh, dear. Just 1 second. This thing is still deploying. But what I want to do is just, here it is. Here it is. Very quickly. That mailing service, it's here. Let me see if the deployment going on in process shows up. It should. So that's why I'm refreshing the dashboard. Yeah, here it is. So this was a storage account I specified on my from the wizard. Yeah, it's been provisioned for me. I didn't have to do anything. Just click on the wizard and let me just go to. So yeah, this is a cloud service. This is my deployment going on now. So I have my storage that was provisioned already, and now the cloud service is being deployed. And this is all happening from my Visual Studio. So the service I'm using to add to send emails, to add emails functionality to my application is provided by these fellows here. They're called SendGrid. And if you got an Azure subscription, you can send up to 25,000 emails, free emails per month. So let me just manage my stuff here. That's a single sign-on to their website. So you can get to see here, okay, well, I've sent 42 emails out of 25,000 because it's a free account. I won't be able to send. I should become a spammer. You can get to see the reputation, and you get, I get 25,000 credits monthly, or messages monthly every month. So this is this guy. So what I did in order to have this from my account, and the thing is, whatever you have here, you can have multiple add-ons, and those add-ons can be used to enhance your application. So if I come here, app services, media services, hang on, no, that's not what I wanted. Let me go to the add-ons. Please work with me. My connection is a bit laggy. Here, this is what I created. I can also create a new add-on. So, oh, come on. It's a bit laggy. New store. Here it is. So there are a few add-ons provided by Microsoft partners. Some of them they are free to use. And if you require any functionality, you don't have to write it from scratch by yourselves. You just did what I just did. I added this guy here, and then all I had to do was to use it for my application. Pretty straightforward. Let's just go back to Visual Studio to check what's the process or the status of my deployment. Please work with me. Yep, it's still going, but now I got an URL here, and I don't know whether it's finished already. Let me just click it just out of curiosity. Come on. If I had a DNS, I could point or I could configure this. No, it's still going. I could configure that website, the ASP.NET MVC site that I just shown you earlier, to use my DNS, but it's still going. It's starting. They're all starting. Okay, let me go back to the slide deck. Cool. Let me open this guy here. Where's my slide deck? Cool. Let me just go back here. Yes. So Zebra Express, they had a requirement. They had to build a multi-tenant solution for their customers, and they wanted to use standards, and they didn't want to invest in retraining for their developers. They wanted to save costs. The solution was, well, like I just demoed it to you, was to have an Azure cloud service, 3 roles, using the Azure storage and the email service provider, which is SendMail. So as you can see, developers didn't have to learn a new set of technologies. They can leverage and write code and deploy stuff to the cloud. It's easier to do it from Visual Studio because Microsoft provides the SDK and tools to do so. But like I said, you can also have Ruby on Rails or PHP if you want to. And yes, that's my demo, Zebra Express. Let's moving on. Q&A, questions and answers. If there are any questions, answers, literally, please feel free to ask anything. No questions coming through the questions panel? I don't think so. No questions. Okay, cool. So thanks for joining me today. It's been a pleasure. I'll upload shortly the presentation material and the slide deck. Thank you very much and have a great weekend ahead. Thanks very much. Bye.